Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to A Glow in the Dark. This is Carissa Kurowski, and today's video is how to stop lying to yourself. I'm doing this video because one of my deepest struggles with my mental illness is that I constantly would lie to myself about many different things. So there's one side of this aspect where the lies you tell yourself are the negative, hateful, deeply disturbing thoughts that we have. And these are the things we tell ourselves that it's just your brain spiraling out of control. So it could be something like, everyone hates me, I'm super ugly, the world is a horrible, hateful place. Just anything that keeps us in the darkness. Now, the other side of lying to yourself is telling yourself everything's fine. I wrote about this a lot in my journals. I would have roller coasters all the time, up and down, up and down. I'd have days where I'd feel fine and then crash the next days. And this went on for years. And part of the reason this was so bad is that during the good times, I would convince myself that I didn't need help. I would convince myself that everything was fine and there was no reason for me to seek help because I was being ridiculous. That might sound like I was trying to have a positive attitude, but really I was just putting off something instead of really trying to fix it. So one thing that became very important for me was to fully admit to myself how bad things were. And when I did that, that was when I kind of finally became public about my mental health issues. Up to that point, I had kept everything inside, maybe told a couple people things that I was experiencing, but I was never really open about it. And one day I just kind of came out and started sharing everything that I was feeling. I started sharing that I had been suicidal multiple times in my life, and I had all of these issues that I was experiencing. People were quite shocked because I had always put on a brave face. I called it my mask. Talking about lying, I lied to the world about how bad things were. So I put together a couple of tips today that helped me, and I hope that it can be a benefit to you as well. So I'm hoping this will show up on the screen. If I put it the right way. Can you read upside down? Why not? What's wrong with you? Okay, so this first one, be willing to look deeply inside yourself. Okay, this means that you have to be totally honest with what you're going through, and you have to be willing to really delve into what is going wrong in your life. This sucks, okay? I know how much this hurts, and I know how difficult it is to do this, but taking that honest look inside yourself is really the first step and the only way you're going to be able to start moving forward. Here's an example. One of the things I had to be really honest with myself about was that I was being a victim in my marriage. I was really struggling with things, and really just everything seemed like it was going wrong. So I had to be willing to look at that in order to determine what I could change about it. So that kind of brings us into our next step. Be willing to stop being a victim and take responsibility. Again, I know this sucks and it's the worst. However, that again has been the only way I've been able to move forward with things. So this is something that I really found helpful by watching Abraham Hicks, if you're not familiar with them. One thing they talk about a lot is taking responsibility for your actions, and it goes along with this idea that I always tell people how we have control over ourselves, we have almost no control over other people. So in my marriage, this didn't happen overnight, just so you know. I slowly started to learn how to take responsibility for the feelings that I was having. And instead of trying to push everything on him and blame everything on him, I learned how I could be changing things in myself. And one of the biggest things you can do for yourself is to love who you are and be happy with who you are, regardless of anybody else in your life. Because here's the thing, even if you have great people in your life, there's going to be days where they let you down. It's just going to happen. Humans are very imperfect. You've let other people down, so you cannot expect that other people are going to be there for you 100% of the time. The only person that's there with you 100% of the time is you. You and maybe your source, whatever that is, God, spirit, universe, whatever that is. So relying on those things, developing those things, being confident in those things, that is so important. And for me, was a very big turnaround point in helping my mental illness. All right, and finally, the last one, be easy on yourself. This is really hard to do. I know everything I'm telling you sucks, but being nice to yourself, pretending that you're a child learning how to walk, it's the only way, in my opinion. If you're hard on yourself and constantly putting yourself down, telling yourself mean things, it doesn't help anything. It doesn't help. When I was probably a teenager until maybe a year or two after college, my inner dialogue about my body was so hateful and nasty. And if I were to tell another person the things I told myself, it would be abusive, right? So I would say things to myself like, you're so ugly, you're fat, everything in your life would be so much better if you could just be thinner, you just have no self-control, you're just so worthless, if you could just have more control and just do better and stop being so lazy, then everything would be fine and you could finally lose weight. Stuff like that. I can't even remember all of the horrible things I would tell myself, but that was the inner dialogue. And guess what? It didn't help at all. And I'm convinced now that because I so strongly saw myself as fat when I looked in the mirror, she became a reality. So now I'm kind of on the opposite side where I see myself as thin and beautiful when I look into the mirror. And the point of me saying all this is that those hateful things you're saying to yourself, they're not helping. They're not motivating you. They're not changing things. And eventually it's going to come to your detriment. It's going to cause you so much stress and so much anxiety. You're going to have a breakdown. So that's why I say be easy on yourself. I think I might have mentioned this in another video, but when kids learn how to walk, we don't chastise them when they trip and fall. We celebrate their successes. Even if it's just a tiny, tiny little step. Every single little step they make is a celebration. So when you're celebrating the small steps, it doesn't mean you're okay with being small. It means that you know each tiny step is leading you to greatness. Well, again, to recap, here are those 3 things. Please comment below. I would love to hear what you think about this. And if you need any clarification, I'm happy to provide that. So as usual, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you have a fabulous day, and I'll see you next time.